The chosen one. The storm raged inside you, unseen but deafening. The world around you continued its motion, ordinary, predictable, blind, yet something within you had begun to fracture. Not from weakness, but from awakening. It was not a voice you heard, not exactly, but a vibration that spoke beneath words, trembling through the bones of your spirit. You had ignored it before. You had drowned it in noise, in people, in purpose that was not yours. But tonight, the silence spoke louder than any prayer you had ever whispered. You tried to dismiss it. You told yourself it was just exhaustion, just your mind running too far ahead. Yet the feeling did not fade. It lingered like fire trapped beneath ice, demanding to be known. And in that moment, between resistance and surrender, a realization began to bloom, fragile, terrifying, divine. You were being called, but called to what? Your heart could not answer. Your faith trembled under the weight of uncertainty. You were not sure if this was revelation or madness, destiny or delusion. You looked up at the ceiling, at the quiet light above you, and wondered if anyone had ever felt this lonely while standing on the edge of something sacred. For years, you had walked through life carrying an ache that had no language. You had seen too much, felt too deeply. You sensed the emptiness behind people's smiles, the quiet despair beneath their laughter. And somewhere inside you, the world began to feel distant, like a reflection you could no longer touch. That distance was not punishment. It was the first sign you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to awaken. Still, you doubted. You questioned everything: your path, your worth, even your sanity. Because being chosen never feels like glory at first. It feels like breaking. It feels like the universe tearing you away from everything familiar, whispering, "There is more," while giving you no map to find it. You tried to pray, but no words came. You tried to run, but there was nowhere left to go. Every door that once led to comfort now stood closed. Every friend who once understood now spoke a language that no longer reached your soul. You were alone, and yet not truly alone, because in that solitude, something watched. Something waited. There is a point in every chosen one's journey when isolation stops feeling like rejection and starts to taste like purification. That's where you are now. The universe isn't punishing you, it's removing the noise. It's stripping away every illusion you once called home. What's left may hurt, but it is real. You feel it, don't you? That trembling sense that something greater is near. You can't explain it, but your spirit knows. This isn't coincidence. This isn't a passing emotion. This is alignment. You were guided here, to this moment, to this message. Because it's time. It's time to remember who you are. The world told you to chase comfort, success, validation, but your soul was never built for shallow victories. You are wired for something eternal, a sacred mission buried beneath the dust of daily life. And now, the divine has begun to uncover it. But awakening always begins in chaos. Before you rise, you must first be stripped. You must lose what you thought was yours so you can finally see what was never lost. You must walk through the valley of uncertainty so your faith can be reborn, not from tradition, but from truth. Some nights, you still question it all. You ask why the signs are so unclear, why the answers hide behind silence. You beg for a glimpse of certainty, yet the divine rarely shouts. It whispers. And its whispers are only heard when everything else is still. That's why you were pulled into solitude. That's why people left. That's why things fell apart. You were being positioned, not punished. This is not the end. This is initiation. You were never meant to wander forever. The storm that rages within you is not destruction, it's rebirth. The fear you feel is sacred fire, refining you for your purpose. When the dust settles, you will not be who you were. You will be who you were meant to become all along. Breathe. Feel the weight in your chest, the tension between surrender and control. That's where transformation lives. Don't rush to escape it. Stay there. Let it teach you. Every chosen one must face this crossroad, the moment where logic ends and faith begins. You are standing there now. Behind you lies the life you've outgrown. Before you stands the unknown, vast and trembling with possibility. The voice inside you is not asking for understanding, it's asking for trust. The moment you choose to trust, everything will begin to shift. The signs will grow louder, the right people will appear, the doors you thought were locked will swing open, But first, you must decide. You must choose to answer the call, even without clarity. That is the first act of power. So, listen closely. The silence around you isn't empty, it's sacred. The unease you feel is not fear, it's the echo of destiny calling you home. Don't fight it, don't numb it. Let it lead you, because this, right here, right now, is where the awakening begins. If you feel this truth, hit like and subscribe. Tonight, as you close your eyes, whisper one thing to yourself. Not a prayer of desperation, but a declaration of remembrance. I am chosen. Say it until it no longer feels like hope, but like truth. Say it until your spirit trembles with the knowing that your story is only beginning. Tomorrow, the world will still look the same. But you won't, and that's how the divine begins its work. Quietly, invisibly, in hearts like yours. The storm will return before the light does. The tests will grow sharper before the signs appear. But remember this, every storm is a teacher, and every silence is a doorway. Walk through it, chosen one, because something holy is waiting on the other side. The chosen one, the silence that once comforted you has turned into an echo that won't stop. You've walked too far to turn back, but the path ahead feels like smoke. Every prayer you've whispered seems to dissolve before it reaches the heavens. You tell yourself to hold on, but hold on to what? The light you once felt has dimmed, and now even the air feels heavy with uncertainty. You try to remember the moment you believed, the fire, the conviction, the clarity that burned through your veins when you first said yes to your calling. But now, it feels like a distant dream, something you imagined in a moment of weakness. You start to wonder if you made it all up, if this divine mission was just your mind's way of giving chaos meaning. Doubt creeps in quietly at first, like a whisper from somewhere deep within. Then, it grows bolder, louder, relentless. If you were chosen, it says, why are you still waiting? Why does everything you touch seem to fall apart? Why is every door closed? You try to silence it, but you can't. Because part of you agrees. Faith begins to fracture. You still go through the motions, you meditate, you pray, you speak affirmations, but it all feels mechanical now, like pressing buttons on a machine that's no longer connected to power. You tell yourself the divine is testing you, but the test feels cruel. What kind of love hides this long? You walk through your days wearing strength like a mask. You smile when people say you look peaceful, but inside, you're unraveling. You feel yourself slipping between two worlds, the one you can see and the one your spirit keeps insisting exists. You want to believe the voice that once called you still speaks, but it's been silent for so long that the silence itself feels like abandonment. This is what the sacred books never tell you, that faith is not a steady climb toward light. It's a spiral, a descent, a collapse before rebirth. And in that collapse, the divine watches, still and patient, letting you break. Because sometimes, the only way to reveal true faith is to let false certainty die. You reach a point where you can't pray anymore. You just sit in the dark, eyes open, breathing through tears that you don't even understand. And something strange happens there, something you can't explain. It's not comfort, it's not revelation, it's a quiet awareness, a presence without sound, a knowing without proof. For the first time, you realize that faith isn't believing when you have answers, it's believing when you have none. It's holding your heart open when everything inside you wants to close. You begin to see that what you thought was silence was actually invitation. The divine never stopped speaking. It was waiting for you to stop demanding words and start listening to what only stillness can say. You remember how everything was taken from you: people, comfort, identity. It wasn't cruelty, it was cleansing. The universe was emptying your hands so that when it gave you purpose again, you'd have space to receive it. But at this point, that understanding doesn't comfort you. It feels like too high a price. You find yourself whispering, "I didn't ask to be chosen." And in that whisper, the truth trembles. Being chosen was never your choice. It was your soul's promise, long before you were born. You want to run from it, but you can't. The calling doesn't let you go, even when you try to bury it. You start to realize that doubt doesn't mean you've lost faith. It means your faith is shedding its skin. What's dying is not belief, it's illusion. You look around and notice how everything feels different now. The conversations you used to enjoy feel hollow. The ambitions that once drove you feel meaningless. You're standing in the middle of your own life and it no longer fits. You are between worlds, no longer who you were, not yet who you're becoming. This in-between is sacred. It's the threshold. You might not see it yet, but your breaking is also your awakening. Because when everything familiar falls apart, truth finally has room to enter. You are being rebuilt from the inside out. Every unanswered prayer is shaping your spirit into something unshakable. And slowly, quietly, you begin to sense movement again. Subtle, barely there. A flicker of warmth where there was only cold. You can't name it, but it feels like a pulse, like the universe remembering your name. You start to dream again, strange dreams filled with symbols and faces that feel familiar but ancient. You wake up with fragments of sentences echoing in your mind. Trust the unraveling. You are not lost. You are being rewritten. The words terrify you and comfort you at once, because deep down, you know it's true. Every sacred path must pass through the desert. Every chosen one must walk through doubt so pure, it burns away every false version of faith. And somewhere in that fire, you begin to see what belief really is. It's not a feeling, it's a decision, one you must make without proof, without comfort, without applause. The world will look at you and call you lost, but your spirit knows better. You are not lost. You are being recalibrated. You are learning to hear the divine not in thunder, but in the pause between breaths. Your journey is not falling apart. It's being fine-tuned. You are being stripped of everything that isn't you, so that when the light returns, you will no longer confuse it with illusion. This breaking is holy. Let yourself feel it. Let it burn through your resistance. Let it teach you what no sermon ever could, that surrender isn't giving up. It's giving over. When you finally stop trying to fix the silence and start listening to it, you'll realize it was never emptiness. It was preparation. The divine never left you. It's been waiting for the noise to end. So breathe again. Even now, especially now, your doubt is not failure. It's the doorway to the next version of your faith. And as the night deepens, remember, this light does not vanish. It only hides until your eyes adjust to the dark. The moment you stop fighting the darkness, you'll see it faint, but real, the glimmer that never left. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment. The darkness is not the end. It's the womb. And from this womb, something new is about to be born. The chosen one. The night didn't end when you found your courage. It stretched longer, quieter. The silence thickened until it became a landscape, endless and dry. You have stepped into the desert, the sacred in-between, where everything false dies slowly, and everything true takes its first breath in dust. You didn't plan to come here. No one ever does. You arrived not through choice, but through collapse. All the things that once held you together, ambition, certainty, approval, crumbled in your hands like sand. What remains now is bare and honest. No armor, no mask, just you and the wind. Here, even prayer sounds hollow. You try to speak to the divine, but your words echo back without answer. You think of turning back, but there is no path behind you anymore. The life you knew no longer recognizes your name, so you keep walking, step after step, through the silence. Each sunrise in this desert feels the same gold light spilling across emptiness, heat pressing against your spirit. You wonder how long this season will last. Days blur into one another. Hope feels like thirst. You start to understand why prophets fled to the wilderness. The desert doesn't destroy you. It reveals what's left. When everything else is gone, you remember the person you used to be, the one who needed to prove, to please, to understand. That version of you was built from noise. Every opinion, every expectation, every borrowed belief. Out here, those voices fade. You begin to hear something deeper, not a command, but a pulse. The divine speaks differently in the desert, not in language, but in rhythm. It moves through wind, through memory, through the slow beating of your heart. You don't understand it yet, but you can feel it like a distant drum, calling you toward a horizon you can't see. Some days, you want to give up. You curse the calling that led you here. You whisper, "Why me? Why now?" But your voice sounds small beneath the sky, and something in that smallness humbles you. For the first time, you stop fighting the emptiness. You let it surround you. You let it strip you clean, and in that surrender, something changes. You notice the beauty in what once felt barren, the way the light bends differently at dusk, the way your breath steadies when you stop running from stillness. You start to see the sacred even in suffering. Not as a lesson, not as punishment, but as a quiet truth, that the divine doesn't hide from your pain. It lives inside it. Your tears fall, not as weakness, but as water on holy ground. In that moment, the desert becomes a temple. You begin to understand that the wilderness isn't a delay, it's the birthplace of destiny. Every chosen one must pass through it. Every voice of purpose is first shaped by silence. What looks like abandonment is preparation. What feels like punishment is refinement. There's no audience here, no applause, no validation, only the sound of your own breathing, sinking slowly with something greater. You begin to remember what it feels like to trust, without evidence. One evening, as the sun bleeds into the horizon, you feel it, that same vibration you once thought was gone. It rises again, faint but certain, moving through your chest like memory returning to the body. You close your eyes, and the wind carries a whisper through the air. Not in words, but in knowing. Keep walking. 2 simple words, yet they break you open. Because after all the waiting, all the silence, all the ache, the divine finally speaks again, not with explanations, but with direction. And that's enough. You take another step, not because the path is clear, but because faith has become your compass. You realize now that the calling was never about certainty. It was about endurance, about learning to walk even when you can't see the way. The longer you walk, the more you change. The world you left behind begins to fade, and something new begins to form within you. A clarity, a strength, a peace that doesn't depend on outcomes. You no longer chase signs, you are one. You start noticing small synchronicities again, numbers repeating on clocks, names appearing in dreams, strangers saying words you needed to hear. They don't shock you anymore. They feel familiar, like echoes of a language your soul always knew. That's how you know you're awakening again. This is the paradox of the desert. What once felt empty now feels full. You start seeing meaning in the spaces where nothing exists. You start hearing guidance in the pauses. And you realize that maybe the divine was never absent. It was simply waiting for you to stop filling the silence with your own fear. But with new clarity comes a deeper test. Because just when you begin to find peace, the universe shakes you again. A new voice appears, subtle, tempting, whispering, "Haven't you suffered enough? Haven't you waited long enough?" It offers shortcuts, promises, comfort. It tells you that faith is foolish, that surrender is weakness. And for a moment, you believe it. You almost turn back, but then something rises in you, not pride, not defiance, but remembrance. You remember the nights you begged for meaning. You remember the moments when silence saved you from yourself. And you whisper, "No, not yet. I'm not done becoming." The temptation fades. The desert quiets again. You realize that this battle between impatience and purpose, between fear and trust, is the real initiation. It's not about finding God. It's about remembering you never lost him. You walk further. The stars burn brighter. And somewhere deep inside, you feel it a shift, small but permanent. You are no longer waiting for rescue. You are learning to stand in revelation. Your faith, once fragile, is now forged in the fire of uncertainty. It's not loud, it's steady, it's real, and as you lift your head to the endless sky, you finally understand. The desert was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to make sure that when the promise comes, you'll recognize it not as reward, but as return. You are not lost. You are becoming. This is not exile. This is evolution. If you feel this truth, hit like and subscribe, because somewhere beyond this desert, your destiny is waiting, and it's moving toward you just as you move toward it. The night will test you again before it yields its light, but you're no longer afraid. You've learned to walk with faith, even when faith walks in silence. Keep going, chosen one. The desert is ending. But before the dawn comes, you must face what's been waiting at the edge of your reflection. Your shadow, your fear, your forgotten self. And that is where the real transformation begins. The chosen one, the desert has quieted, but peace does not come. It never does. Not before the final test. You've walked far enough to understand that silence can heal. But now, another kind of silence rises, not holy, but haunting. It waits for you at the edge of your reflection, where the light begins to tremble and your shadow finally steps forward. For a long time, you thought your battles were with the world. You blamed the people who left, the voices that doubted, the pain that shaped you. But here, beneath the pale light of truth, you realize the greatest enemy was never outside. It was always within. The shadow does not rush toward you. It waits, patient and familiar. Its eyes look like yours. Its voice sounds like yours. It whispers all the things you've tried to forget, the regrets, the guilt, the anger that hides beneath devotion. You feel your chest tighten. Every step closer feels like betrayal, as if facing it means undoing everything you've built in faith. But you can't go forward until you do, because the divine cannot dwell in the same space as denial. You've spoken of light, of destiny, of purpose, but light is not pure until it has known darkness, and destiny is not complete until it has met the parts of itself that it's tried to erase. The divine didn't bring you this far to show you glory. It brought you here to show you truth. You stand still. The air grows heavy. The shadow moves closer. It begins to speak, not with malice, but with clarity. You abandoned me when you chose perfection over honesty, it says. You silenced me when you called doubt a sin. You rejected me when you chased the divine without facing the human. Tears rise. You want to defend yourself, but no words come. Deep down, you know it's right. You've worn faith like armor, not realizing it was meant to be skin. You've tried to prove your worth to a God who never asked for proof. For a long moment, you simply breathe. The shadow doesn't fade. It mirrors every movement, every heartbeat. You realize now that it was never your enemy. It was your teacher. It carried your wounds, your shame, your untold stories, waiting for the day you'd be brave enough to look. And when you finally meet its gaze without fear, something sacred happens. The air shifts. The edges blur. The shadow steps into you, not to consume, but to complete. The parts of you that were fragmented begin to knit themselves together. The pieces you hid, the pain you buried, become light again, but not the fragile light of innocence, the fierce, tempered glow of awareness. This is what integration feels like. Not a burst of joy, but a slow reconciliation with yourself. You realize that being chosen was never about perfection. It was about wholeness, about carrying both the wound and the wisdom, both the faith and the doubt, both the divine and the human. The mirror of your soul clears, and for the first time, you see yourself not the saint you tried to be, not the sinner you feared you were, but the truth in between, raw, real, redeemed. You fall to your knees, not in defeat, but in release. The tears you cry now are not of sorrow, but of understanding. You whisper into the stillness, I accept it all. The divine answers, not in thunder, but in quiet resonance. Then rise. You rise. The desert wind cools. The stars above seem closer than ever. You feel lighter, as if you've returned something heavy you carried too long. You walk again, but your steps are different now, slower, more deliberate, no longer chasing light, but walking with it. For the first time, faith doesn't feel like escape. It feels like embodiment. You understand now that your calling was never to outrun darkness, but to illuminate it. The divine doesn't want your purity. It wants your presence, and so you carry both the ache and the answer, the shadow and the shine. But transformation doesn't end with revelation. The moment you make peace with yourself, the world begins to test that peace. People from your past reappear, some kind, some cruel, all mirrors in their own way. They see your new calm and try to pull you back into old storms. They question your change. They mock your stillness. They remind you of your failures, of every moment you were lost. You feel the sting. The old anger flickers, but it no longer rules you. You understand now that every projection they throw at you is a reflection of their own war within. You no longer need to fight it. You just stand in the truth you found, and the darkness that once frightened you now bows in recognition. Still, the test deepens. The divine, ever patient, asks for one last surrender, not of fear, not of pride, but of control. It whispers again, softly, can you trust without needing to see? Can you love without needing to win? Can you walk without needing to know where? The questions pierce you. You want to answer yes, but hesitation lingers. You've come so far, yet part of you still clings to proof. And that's when the mirror shows you one last reflection, not of the shadow, not of pain, but of potential. A version of you standing in light, eyes clear, spirit unshaken. You realize that this reflection is not separate from you. It's who you already are beneath the doubt. All that's left is belief. You take a breath. You step closer to the mirror. The reflection doesn't move away. It welcomes you, and as you walk through it, you feel the boundaries between fear and faith dissolve. The desert fades. The sky opens. The sound of your heartbeat aligns with something greater, a rhythm that feels ancient and eternal. You are no longer seeking alignment. You are alignment. You whisper once more, "I am chosen." But this time, it's not a declaration. It's a remembrance. The mirror shatters. Light spills through the cracks. And in its glow, you see what's next: faces, voices, energies moving toward you. You recognize them not as strangers, but as echoes of your own essence. Your tribe is near. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment. The tests are not over. The path will twist again. But now you carry truth within you, the kind that cannot be unlearned. The shadow is no longer your fear. It's your foundation, and as the horizon brightens, you know the time for isolation is ending. The gathering is about to begin. The chosen one. The air feels different now. The silence that once haunted you has shifted, not gone, but transformed. It hums softly beneath your steps, carrying a pulse that feels familiar, ancient, alive. The horizon is no longer just a mirage. There are figures moving through the light, slow, steady, radiant. You don't know them yet, but your spirit does. This is the moment the divine promised long ago. The season of isolation is ending. The gathering has begun. You walk toward them, hesitant but hopeful. Every footstep feels like an echo of prophecy fulfilling itself. For years, you wondered why your path was lonely, why your prayers went unanswered, why you were stripped of everything familiar. Now, as you approach the others who shine with the same unseen flame, you understand. The solitude was the soil. The waiting was the root. And now, the bloom is here. They see you before you speak. Their eyes carry the same quiet, knowing the mark of those who have walked through fire and come out speaking peace. No words are needed. Recognition happens at the level of soul. It is not introduction, it is remembrance. One of them steps forward. You do not know their name, but you know their energy. They smile, as if they've been expecting you. "We've been waiting," they say, and you feel the truth in it. Something within you softens. The ache that lived beneath your ribs begins to ease. For the first time in forever, you are not alone in your frequency. You feel seen without needing to explain. You feel safe without needing to perform. This is your tribe, but don't mistake this reunion for relief. The gathering of light is not a celebration. It is a calling into higher responsibility. Every chosen one carries a piece of the divine design, and when the pieces begin to come together, the air itself begins to shift. You can feel it now, a current, invisible yet undeniable, flowing between you and them. As you sit among them, stories begin to unfold, not of success, but of survival. Each one speaks of deserts, of darkness, of breaking and rebuilding. Their pain mirrors yours, but so does their hope. And you realize something sacred: your suffering was never wasted. It was synchronization. The universe had to refine you all separately before it could unite you collectively. You listen to their voices, strong, trembling, real. You see how every scar glows faintly with light. It hits you then. Holiness was never meant to look perfect. It was meant to look healed. Still, the gathering is not without tests. When light meets light, the shadows rise to be seen one last time. There are moments of tension, mirrors that show you pieces of yourself you still resist. Sometimes their truth stings. Sometimes your vulnerability shakes. But the difference now is love unconditional, courageous love that refuses to abandon even in discomfort. The tribe doesn't demand your perfection. They demand your presence, and in their presence, you begin to remember what power feels like when shared. It's not dominance, it's harmony. It's knowing that no single flame defines the fire, but together, they burn through the darkness that once silenced you all. As the days unfold, you feel the energy between you strengthening. When one speaks, another's spirit responds. When one weeps, the others hold space. When one doubts, the collective faith lifts them until they can stand again. This is not coincidence. This is divine architecture. You start to notice signs again: the wind moving differently, the stars aligning in unfamiliar patterns, dreams that feel like messages. One night, you wake suddenly with the words, "It begins now," echoing through your chest. You don't know what it means, but you feel the urgency. You look around at your tribe, some sleeping, some awake, all radiating quiet readiness, and realize the divine is preparing the next stage. Your mission is no longer personal. It's collective. Each one of you carries a different frequency. One of healing, one of vision, one of protection, one of wisdom. And together, those frequencies begin to merge into a single current. You can feel it moving through you, pulling at the core of your being. It's not chaos, it's alignment. But alignment demands surrender. The divine whispers again. You are no longer individuals walking separate paths. You are one movement, one voice, one living prayer. The words terrify you. You've just learned to stand alone, and now you're being asked to dissolve again, not into loneliness, but into unity. You hesitate. The human part of you clings to the boundaries it rebuilt in the desert. You fear losing yourself again, yet the divine voice persists, gentle but unyielding. You will not lose yourself. You will expand yourself. You close your eyes. You feel their presence surrounding you, the tribe, the souls that mirror your growth. You realize that love is not confinement. It's communion. It's the merging of truths without the loss of individuality. You open your eyes. The fear fades. The energy between you grows brighter. And in that glow, you sense a ripple moving outward, as if the earth itself feels your awakening. You've stepped into a new rhythm now, one that doesn't follow the old timelines. Miracles begin to unfold in small, unexplainable ways. Conversations appear at perfect moments. Doors open without knocking. Strangers echo phrases from your dreams. You understand now that the divine does not speak in coincidence. It speaks in convergence. Still, the more your light grows, the more resistance you attract. There are those who see your unity and feel threatened. They question your motives, twist your message, mock your faith. You feel the sting again, but this time, you don't fight back. You understand that light exposes whatever fears it touches. The resistance isn't your enemy. It's confirmation that you're rising. You gather again under the stars, you and your tribe, hearts aligned, eyes turned to the unseen. The silence between you is sacred, heavy with purpose. And in that stillness, a new voice speaks not from above, but from within, all of you at once. The time for hiding is over. The world is ready for your light. You feel the words move through your bones. You see it in their faces, the same mix of awe and trembling you felt when the call first came to you alone. But this time, you are not trembling alone. You realize something profound. The divine doesn't just choose individuals, it chooses collectives. And now, the divine has chosen you together. You look around, and the faces of your tribe seem to blur into light, each one a reflection of something eternal. You see yourself in them, and them in you. The boundaries vanish. The fear dissolves. All that remains is purpose. If you feel this truth, hit like and subscribe, because this is not just a story, it's a transmission. It's a reminder that your tribe is not somewhere out there, it's forming around you, through you, because of you. The gathering has begun, chosen one, and now, the light that once hid inside you is ready to speak. But before the world hears your message, you must face the last sacred test, the moment when destiny demands action, and the divine asks for everything. And in that surrender, history itself will shift. The chosen one. The night before, destiny always feels strange. The air thickens with memory. The stars burn quieter, as if holding their breath. You stand beneath the same sky that once watched you cry in solitude. Yet, everything feels different now. The silence is no longer empty. It's listening, waiting. You can sense it, the pull, the convergence, the gathering of unseen forces around you. The tribe has assembled. The desert is behind you. The shadow is at peace. What remains now is choice. The choice to step into the reason you were called, or to retreat into the comfort of what you've already survived. This is the final test, not of endurance, but of surrender. You've carried faith like a torch through darkness. You've learned to stand when everything fell apart. You've walked through silence, through doubt, through the mirror of your own reflection. But the divine is asking for something deeper now, not belief, but embodiment. Not trust as hope, but trust as truth. It whispers again, softer than breath. Everything you've lived was preparation for this moment. You feel the weight of it settle over you, not as burden, but as clarity. All the questions that once haunted you dissolve into one understanding. Nothing was wasted. Every loss, every ache, every tear refined your frequency for this alignment, and yet, fear lingers. The last remnants of your old self cling to comfort, whispering that you're not ready, that you're too small for what's coming. You look around at your tribe, their faces lit by quiet fire, and you see the same doubt reflected in their eyes. The divine calls not just one of you, but all of you, to rise together. You realize that destiny is not a crown, it's a covenant. Each heartbeat between you sinks into one rhythm. You can feel it, the pulse of something ancient, waking through your bones. It's both terrifying and tender, like the first breath after drowning. A wind moves through the gathering, cool, electric, charged with unseen language. You hear no words, but you understand everything. The divine does not speak in explanations, it speaks in alignment. It says, "The time has come, stand in your place." You take your position among your tribe. The circle forms, imperfect yet whole. Above you, the stars seem to rearrange themselves, forming patterns that feel like memory. You realize the constellations were never random. They were messages, waiting for your awakening to translate them. Then it begins. The ground hums. The air thickens. A vibration moves through the circle, rising from the earth itself. You feel it in your chest, in your pulse, in your breath. It's not magic. It's remembrance, the soul remembering its source. Visions flood through your mind, faces you've never met but somehow know. Moments that haven't happened yet but already exist in some higher timeline. You see healing spreading through the world like dawn across shadow. You see old systems crumbling, illusions breaking, hearts awakening. The divine shows you the reason for your journey, not to escape the world, but to transform it. You were never meant to live above humanity. You were meant to bring heaven into it. For a moment, you hesitate. The magnitude overwhelms you. You whisper, "I'm not enough." But the voice within answers gently, "You were never meant to be enough alone." Your tribe's energy surges around you, holding you in place, reminding you that the divine never called you to perfection, only to participation. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of the mission. Your body trembles. The light around the circle intensifies. You feel the boundaries between spirit and flesh blur again. The vibration deepens until it feels like your heart might shatter from the inside out. And then silence. No sound, no wind, no separation, only stillness. In that stillness, you hear it not as a voice, but as truth woven into your being. You are the continuation of creation. You are the breath I placed in the dust. You are the echo of every promise fulfilled. Tears fall, not from sorrow, but from recognition. You are not praying anymore. You are being prayed through. The divine moves as you, breathes as you, speaks as you. The separation is gone. You open your eyes, and the world looks different. Not brighter, truer. The same sky, but now you can see the patterns within it. The same air, but now you can feel its rhythm. You understand that alignment isn't about ascension. It's about embodiment. The divine didn't call you to leave this world. It called you to love it fiercely enough to change it. You turn to your tribe. Their faces glow with the same light that burns within you. No words are needed. You can feel their understanding that each of you now carries a piece of something greater, a living covenant of light. And as the dawn begins to break, you realize that destiny doesn't arrive as a moment. It unfolds as a movement, a sacred rhythm that began long before you were born and will continue long after your story is told. You were never chosen to escape the darkness. You were chosen to illuminate it. The path ahead won't be easy. There will be resistance. There will be loss. But now, you carry truth that cannot be broken. You are no longer the seeker. You are the source. This is what it means to be aligned. To walk not in certainty, but in surrender. To carry not answers, but awareness. To live not for recognition, but for revelation. And so you step forward. The world is waiting. The divine hums quietly through your veins. You no longer ask, "Why me?" You whisper, "Thank you." Because finally, you understand. You were not sent to find the light. You were sent to be it. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment. The circle fades. The night yields to morning. And somewhere deep inside, the voice that began your journey speaks once more, not as command, but as completion. It is done. Now, live it. You walk toward the horizon, the desert, the shadow, the silence all behind you now, not as wounds, but as wisdom. The tribe moves beside you, steps synchronized, hearts awakened. This is not an ending, chosen one. This